Ferrari spent decades saying one thing: we will never build an SUV. Not maybe, not someday, never. And yet, here we are. 4 doors, 4 seats, elevated stance, the Ferrari Purosangue. The release of this car did not just surprise people, it upset them. So what changed? Passion or pressure? So let's go back in time to 1947. Enzo Ferrari is not dreaming about luxury, he's dreaming about racing. Before this moment, he has already spent years in motorsport, first as a driver, then leading Alfa Romeo's racing division. Racing is the purpose, but racing costs money. And right now, Enzo needs money. So he builds road cars, not because he wants to, because he must. Sell cars, go racing, win. That is the cycle. Ferrari is not born as a lifestyle brand. It is born as a racing team that funds itself by selling cars. Fast forward to today. Ferrari is not just a romantic Italian manufacturer. It is Ferrari NV, a publicly traded company listed on the stock market since 2015. And when you are public, you do not answer only to heritage, you answer to shareholders. And shareholders do not care about nostalgia, they care about margins. Quarter after quarter, year after year. And SUVs, whether enthusiasts like it or not, are margin machines. Look around the industry. Brands that once swore on purity now heavily rely on SUVs for revenue. Competitors are printing money. Porsche with the Cayenne and the Macan, the Lamborghini Urus, which became quickly the #1 selling model for Lamborghini. Both are enormously successful. They sell in higher numbers, they attract new customers, and they stabilize earnings. And stability is very attractive to investors. So Ferrari watches, and eventually the mass becomes impossible to ignore. If the market wants high-riding, high-priced performance vehicles and investors expect expanding profitability, how long can you afford to say no? So the Purosangue feels less like a bold move and more like the only direction left. So now here's the uncomfortable part. So was Ferrari forced to build that car? Not by regulators, not by engineering limitations, but by financial structure. When you are accountable to shareholders, you cannot just simply protect tradition. You must protect valuation. And valuation grows through new buyers, new segments, and an increased revenue stream. The Purosangue is not an accident, it is a strategy. A strategic expansion into the most profitable luxury segment in the world. That doesn't make it inauthentic, but it does make it calculated. Notice something: Ferrari refuses to call the Purosangue an SUV. Instead, they call it FUV, Ferrari Utility Vehicle, which sounds less like a category and more like a defensive argument. Because SUV implies compromise. It's heavy, it's comfort biased, and it has soft edges. And Ferrari has always defined itself by the opposite: focused, aggressive, and singularity. The Purosangue exists in a segment Ferrari once dismissed. And Ferrari knows exactly how this looks, so they do something brilliant. They give it a naturally aspirated V12. Not a turbo V8, not a hybrid V6, a 6.5-liter naturally aspirated V12. 715 horsepower, over 8,000 RPM. In a segment dominated by supercharged V8s and hybrids. Why? Because if you're going to enter controversial territory, you enter it loudly. The engine becomes armor, a way of saying, yes, it has 4 doors, but it still has 12 cylinders. This is brilliant positioning. But let's not confuse positioning with integrity. Let's talk about mass. This is not a lightweight machine. It weighs over 2,000 kilo, that's over 4,400 pounds. And physics doesn't disappear just because there's a horse on the badge. But drive it and you cannot deny its competence. The chassis control is extraordinary. Despite its size, it reaches 0 to 60 in under 3.3 seconds and the top speed is just under 200 miles per hour. The steering is extremely precise and the suspension technology keeps it controlled in a way that you absolutely forget about the weight of the car. But it doesn't feel like a mid-engine Ferrari. It feels substantial and it feels mature. It feels like a luxury performance machine. And maybe that's exactly the point. The Purosangue does not replace the sports cars. It just widens the funnel and brings new buyers into the brand. Buyers who have never considered a two-seat berlinetta. So from a business perspective, that is genius. But from a purist perspective, that's complicated. When children draw Ferraris, they don't draw 4 doors. They draw something low, loud, and uncompromising. Something that looks impossible to own. And when this drives past, it doesn't stop the traffic in the same way. It doesn't shout, it doesn't demand attention. It exists differently. Ferrari used to represent sacrifice. You gave up comfort for speed, you accepted impracticality for drama. The Purosangue removes the sacrifice. But you didn't buy a Ferrari because it made sense. You bought it because it didn't. The Purosangue introduces logic. You can take your family, you can carry luggage comfortably, you can daily it without planning your route around speed bumps. And when a Ferrari becomes logical, does it remain iconic? That's not a criticism. It's a question. The Ferrari Purosangue exists because the market exists. And Ferrari, as a publicly traded company, just cannot ignore the demand of the most profitable segment in the world. It was not built purely from rebellion. It was built from calculation. Does that make it a bad car? No. Is it a revolution? Not really. It's a negotiation between heritage and market reality, between purity and profitability, and between what Ferrari was and what Ferrari must become. The Purosangue is not Ferrari abandoning its identity. It's Ferrari adapting its identity to satisfy 2 masters, the heritage and the shareholders. And whether you see that as evolution or compromise depends entirely on what you think Ferrari should protect, romance or relevance.